I work with many different 6, 7, and 8-figure e-commerce brands to make them more money with email marketing, and 95% of these brands had no idea how to actually run effective A/B tests on their account before they started working with me and my team. We've generated over $15 million for our clients in email revenue, and a good chunk of that comes from actually optimizing what we were already doing with A/B testing that actually moved the needle. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 8-figure A/B testing playbook so you know exactly how to constantly optimize your email channel. Alright, so this is the 8-figure A/B testing playbook for e-commerce email. So in this training, I'm basically just going to show you how you can constantly optimize your email channel for more revenue with A/B testing that actually moves the needle. Because again, this is where most brands go wrong. They run tests that don't really move the needle. They're running tests in like a flow that only gets 200 recipients every single month. You're not going to see any significant results from that. You want to know exactly what's the highest leverage test you can run, and yeah, what you'll need to be doing every single month. So that is what I'm going to be showing you here. So you don't want to be like this guy right here who's already making 28% of revenue from Klaviyo, and he's thinking, have I now completed email marketing? Am I done now? Can I just leave this be? And yeah, now what kind of thing? So we'll dive into that exactly. So why is A/B testing so important? So you want to think of A/B testing like opening a new restaurant. You wouldn't just guess or assume what dishes people actually want at your new restaurant or what they like. So you test different recipes and see which ones actually get the best feedback. So then over time, you'll have a much better idea of what your current offering actually should be, but you'll also have a much better idea of what your next kind of dishes that you introduce should be. So again, A/B testing within your email marketing is the exact same. And obviously there's a ton of different things you can test. So I understand why this can be kind of an overwhelming topic. So you can test your email designs, send times, copywriting, content topics, links you send people to from your emails, different offers, and obviously a lot more. So ongoing testing helps you keep your emails relevant, engaging, and effective at all times. Because obviously if you're not testing, again, everything that just maintains is really falling in performance. So you always want to optimize to increase performance. So most importantly, it obviously helps you generate more and more revenue over time because you're non-stop optimizing areas of your entire email channel to, again, identify exactly what works and what doesn't. Again, for your audience specifically, every brand is different. So the tests that we run for some of our clients, that doesn't mean that they'll work for you or bring you the best results. These are just some real A/B test results. So this is a campaign content test that we ran, flow time delay test, pop-up design test, pop-up offer test, subject line test, campaign header copy test, product placement test, email style test. Obviously you can pause these, zoom in if they're not too viewable for you, so you can kind of see the results we got here. So the 4 core rules that you want to make sure you kind of are aware of before you start testing is that first, you want to have a large enough sample size. You obviously want to make sure that you have enough people that you're actually testing with to make sure the data actually means something. If you're only running a test for 20 people and you're splitting them 50-50, so 10 people on each side, you're not going to get any meaningful data at all. Number 2 is that you want to have a metric that you're actually trying to improve. So whether that's click rate, conversion rate, anything like that. Number 3 is that you want to run this test for a sufficient time period. Again, this depends on how much traffic you're getting. I guess like 1,000 website visitors every single day, and all of these guys see or all of these people see your pop-up, then that might be enough for you to gain enough data in just a 1-day time period. But again, it's different from brand to brand, so you want to make sure you factor that in, let it run for a long enough time period. And then again, you want to have, as kind of the 4th core rule here, you want to have a clear variation difference. So again, if you're testing for click rates, let's say it's a back in stock email. So you're saying back in stock in the header as the copy, and then as the first variation, and then the other variation is something like this product is now back in stock. It's not really too much of a difference there. There could be a difference, but you want to make sure you're testing 2 very different things. So you know exactly when one is winning, that it's clear like this is why this one was winning, and it's not just like it's not just a coincidence that this header copy is winning. So you want to make sure there's an actual difference there. So you want to know where to actually A/B test. So the key thing with A/B testing is that you want to allocate most of your effort where you'll see the biggest payoffs. So a quick example here is, which of these 2 tests do you think will most likely result in more revenue for your store once obviously you're finding a winner of these tests? So number 1 is split testing the first email in your customer win-back flow that only gets 600 monthly recipients, and the other one is split testing the first email in your welcome series that sees 8,000 monthly recipients. So obviously it's the second option. You're having a lot more people to actually run through your test here within a 1-month time period, because the welcome series in this scenario is gaining over 13 times the amount of people kind of entering the flow every single month. So you'll see much quicker results and much more impact by actually testing things in the flows or in the areas where you have a lot more people actually running through these areas compared to a flow or any other area where you don't really have a lot of recipients, like a win-back flow, like in this example. So very important to be aware of. So the highest leverage A/B A/B tests you can run are in these areas. So sign-up forms, welcome series, abandonment flows, campaigns, and post-purchase flows. Going into some sign-up forms tests here. So these are pretty much some of the most important ones that you can run. So for the offer, that's one of the most important things you can test. This is like an example here could be 10% off, which obviously you'll see a lot of brands run. That could be one variation, and then the other variation could be another offer where it's free item with purchase. So if you're selling clothes and you also you have complementary items of like sunglasses, as an example, then you can kind of offer sunglasses as the free item with purchase. That's one of the most important ones you can run. Then you can test timing, pretty self-explanatory. Micro commitment is like a big one you can test as well. So instead of just saying, hey, sign up and get 20% off your first order, you have a step before that says, do you want 20% off your first order? And then they have to click yes, please. And then obviously by then they can then enter their email. So it adds another step, but we've seen this increased conversions like sign up rates for most of our clients. It will differ from brand to brand. It might not work better for everyone. So again, I think you want to test. That's the whole point here. So design, this is one you can test as well. Let's say you're doing just a regular pop-up. You can test having an image on the pop-up versus just having no image. So exactly like this kind of pop-up right here, they don't have any image. And for some brands, you'll see they have an image out here on the side, especially if it's a desktop pop-up. So that's the thing you can test. You can also test the type. So instead of a pop-up, you can test kind of a pop-up versus a fly-out or a slide-in or a full-page pop-up. There's a lot you can test here. Copy as well. Do you like want 10% off? Question mark versus here's 10% off your order. That's also something you can test, and zero-party data as well. So if you like, what you can do here is you can collect shopping interests. So once they've opted in or while they're opting in, you can have kind of questions or blocks on your pop-up saying, let's say you're selling skincare. Are you shopping for cleaner skin, glowing skin, wrinkle reducing, anything like that within those means? You can test having those and see if they impact kind of sign-up rates or not. Because obviously if they don't impact sign-up rates too much by adding a lot of friction, then obviously those are worth having there, because you can then utilize the zero-party data to kind of tailor your welcome series and your overall emails much more to these individuals that have already picked kind of an interest on the pop-up. So that's also something you can test. You can also test different interests and whatever you're asking here on the pop-up as well. When it comes to your welcome series, so one of the most important things you can test is content topics. So something like just a different way of conveying the same message. So let's say you're selling a product that solves some kind of problem. You can try having an email that is much more direct response, like really agitates the pain points of not solving this problem. And you can have another one that just more so explains the benefits of this problem or your product, sorry, without kind of agitating the problem really or the pain point. So that's something you can test. Obviously, there's a lot of different content topics, a lot of different ways you can test the content topics pretty much. Copywriting, again, something you can test. Design. So an example here is something like utilizing UGC content versus more professional shots. This is something we tested pretty recently for one of our clients, where we noticed UGC content kind of increase click rates a fair bit. It's not something we'd start run for every single campaign, because obviously it's good to have variance, but we noticed we need to use this a lot more. And then we could kind of tell their creative team that we need more content shoots for UGC content, basically. Timings as well for your welcome series. So testing the time delay in between each email, in between each welcome email, offer placements as well. So let's say you're obviously giving away, you're most likely giving away an offer for people to sign up. So do you want to have your offer above the fold in reminder emails, or do you want to have it below the fold? So maybe there's something more important you can say above the fold, and maybe that's why you'll see the discount code perform, or the email overall performing better when you have the discount code below the fold. Most likely you'll see it perform better having it above the fold, but obviously you don't want every single email to just be about a discount code, unless obviously that's the essence of your brand. So yeah, again, a thing to test. Cadence of emails. Let's say you have a brand story in your welcome series. So do you want this should this be welcome email 2? Should it be welcome email 4 or 6? Again, different things to test there. Subject lines as well. So these are overrated, these tests for pretty much every area in your email marketing. But again, we've seen these not only increase open rates, because obviously that's the direct metric they impact, but they can also increase click rates and conversion rates, because obviously the subject line kind of sets the tone for the entire email. So they do have a lot more impact than you actually think. It may just not be the impact that you thought they had. It's also something you can test, something like direct subject lines versus more like engaging, branded, cute subject lines that are a bit more vague. You can test product placements. So showing certain products in an email versus showing something like collection CTAs is something you can test. And length of flow as well. So is it better performing if you only have 6 emails versus 10 emails in your flow? in your welcome series. So that's also something you can test there. So regarding abandonment flows, so one of the most important things you can test here is timing. So do you want to send the first email 1 hour after someone abandons, let's say, their cart or abandons checkout? Or does it perform better for you if you send it 2 hours after? Again, you can test 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1.5 hours, 4 hours even. So obviously a lot of things you can test here. We've seen the best results really come from one versus 2 hours. For some brands, we see 2 hours perform better, but for most brands, we see 1 hour perform the best. So again, different from brand to brand. Make sure you test these, especially timings in your abandonment flows. Offer placements, again, do you want to give an incentive in email 2 versus email 3? So let's say you're giving it in email 2 and you think you need to give it in email 2 to convert more people, because obviously they need a discount to convert, right? But then you're just giving it away in email 3, and then you suddenly realize this doesn't really affect conversion rates too much. We're now saving a lot more margin because we're not giving away a discount earlier on. So yeah, again, kind of offers is something you can test. If you're giving away a discount, just like we spoke about here for offer placements, does it perform better if you give away 15% off their order or off their cart or checkout or whatever? Or does it perform better if you're giving away free shipping, as an example? Again, many different offers you can test here. Copywriting as well, something like direct response, pain point kind of focused copy versus more branded and engaging, maybe fun, witty copy. Product placement is something you can also test. So do you want to show other recommended products versus keeping the email simple? Or if you are showing products in the email, are you showing them kind of in the middle of the email, or is it the last thing you show? And how do you kind of how do you speak about these products that you're kind of promoting in this email? Like, is this something you want to add to your cart? Is this something you want to purchase instead if you're not interested in what you initially left in your cart? Things like that. So subject lines, again, like I mentioned for the welcome series. Approach is a big one as well. So does it perform better if you're doing a plain text reminder from something like a customer experience expert, or maybe a founder or anything like that? Or does it perform better for you if you're just doing like a normal graphic email reminder, basically, like most brands do? Most brands don't really test plain text emails at all. It does perform super, super well for many brands that we've done this for, to have a plain text email in something like a browse abandonment flow, or in an abandoned checkout flow. Something like, do you need help? Is there anything you're concerned with or worried about regarding our products? Is there anything I can help with, really? Is kind of the simple message that you're trying to convey with a plain text email there. Again, length of flow, 4 emails versus 6 or 7 emails is an example there. And then designs, let's say just a simple design with a dynamic product block, because obviously you want to have that in your abandonment flows, versus more visual designs where you're going a lot more creative and having a lot of different elements in the design. So that's also something you can test. So campaigns is a big one. So like a lot of brands really, they do launch tests with their campaigns, but they don't have a system to actually kind of keep track with this. So there's a way to go about it, and I'll dive into that later on as well. So with campaigns, obviously, again, it's a big one you want to test, because for most brands, this is either like 50% of their email revenue. For some of our brands, it's 70%, because just a lot of their traffic comes from campaigns, and they have huge lists. So it's a big one. So content topics, again, do you want to send more educational focused campaigns versus more product focused campaigns? So this is not something you can test within just one email. So this is more tests with several emails over a certain time period, where you're kind of analyzing the results from every single campaign that you send, and you're maybe analyzing the results over a month or two kind of time period. You have to be a lot more wary of what you're actually doing here, and you gotta keep track of what you're actually doing to make this effective, which obviously is the kind of key with A/B testing. You want to make sure you're actually learning from what you're doing here, and not just testing just to test. So send times is something you can test, something like 9 a.m. versus 12 p.m. Copywriting, do you want to keep it straight to the point, or do you want to keep it more like longer, branded, playful copy, where you say like you doing like storytelling, all of that stuff? Is that effective or not? Or is it just kind of like direct copywriting that performs better for your brand? Again, you can do different things, and it's not to say that, let's say, short, straight to the point copy performs better over the test period that you've run it. That doesn't mean you'll only run like short, straight to the point copy. It just means this is probably what you'll kind of use as your flagship messaging and your main way of doing emails. So yeah, that it just indicates what kind of performs better and what you should probably lean towards for better performance. So volume, again, something you can test with, like, let's say 3 campaigns per week versus 4 campaigns per week. Open rates and click rates kind of staying somewhat the same, even though you're sending more emails. Product placement, again, showing recommended products versus keeping the emails shorter is something you can test in your campaigns. Email style as well. Do you want to have more plain text email reminders for something like sales promos versus graphic email reminders? Does that perform better? Subject lines, again, kind of one that is kind of overrated, and you want to make sure you have kind of a high leverage, I guess, an overall goal or a thing that you're testing here, because obviously you're not just testing the difference between each subject line, you're testing the style of subject lines that you're using for multiple campaigns, many campaigns, because otherwise you're not really learning from this. So you want to make sure you're testing kind of an like overview or like high level things, so something like longer subject lines versus short subject lines, or like witty subject lines versus more formal subject lines. That's also something you can do there. Then what you can also test is navigation bars. So does it perform better if you have these at the top of the email versus bottom of the email? So you want to make sure you obviously go in and check where people are clicking on your campaigns, and you can see whenever they're at the top, does this affect conversion rates? Like, does it distract people from what the messaging actually is within your campaigns, or does it perform better having it at the top compared to at the bottom, something like that? That's also something you can test. Not a lot of brands really think about testing this, but it can have a super big impact. Post-purchase testing. So this is what, again, we don't really see a lot of brands do this, and if they do it, they don't really run the tests that actually matter here. So upsell offers is a big one. Does it perform better when you're offering an instant upsell discount versus not offering one? You also want to test the timing of this upsell offer if you're running one. So something like 5 minutes after purchase versus 15 minutes after purchase. Products to cross-sell. So obviously you're cross-selling, you should be cross-selling in your post-purchase flow. Does it make more sense for you to kind of sell more of the same product or recommend kind of complementary products? Then you also want to test when to cross-sell. So do you want to do it 14 days after they've purchased or 30 days after purchase? That's kind of an example there. Review collection timing. This is something I've never seen brands test before we came in. So something like sending a review request 7 days after their order has been fulfilled versus 14 days after their order has been fulfilled. So are you seeing more review requests coming in from one of these compared to the other? So that's a big one, obviously very high leverage test, because reviews is something obviously you're using in your marketing and for social proof on your website, everything like that. So a big one to test if you haven't done this. Review incentives. So when you are sending these requests, does it get you more reviews if you're incentivizing them with something like a 15% off discount on the next order versus not giving one? Because if it doesn't really get you a lot more reviews to like when you're giving away 15% off, then maybe you're just losing margin by giving this 15% off away, or maybe it's getting you a lot more reviews and maybe you think it's much more worth it even to lose this margin to get a few more reviews than you would have if you weren't giving away this 15% off. So a big one to test as well. Referral program plug as well, promoting something like refer a friend in a thank you email versus doing it in its own dedicated email later on in the post-purchase flow. And if you have subscription services, subscribe and save, do you want to promote this for your first-time buyers versus second-time buyers? Like, does it make more sense once people are more loyal? And are you seeing a much higher take rate on your subscribe and save kind of program for people that are a bit more loyal than obviously first-time buyers are? A lot of tests you can run here. There's obviously a lot more you can run compared to just these tests I've obviously mentioned here, but a lot of these are the main ones you should be testing and at least starting out with running through before you go out and test more minor, smaller tests that might not move the needle as much. So 3 mistakes you want to avoid and that you need to avoid once you are kind of testing. Mistake number 1 is that you never want to test more than one variable at a time within an A/B test. Obviously, this is something you hear a lot. You've probably heard this before. I've heard this countless times. But it's just such a big one, because otherwise you're not really running any A/B tests that you can actually pull any meaningful data from. So you can't test something like subject lines and content within the email at the same time, because if you do, like, you won't know for sure what actually impacted the data that you're seeing from this test. So you want to test only one variable at a time to get data you can actually trust. I hope that makes sense. So mistake number 2 is running A/B tests without actually learning from them. So you're not just, like I mentioned previously, you're not just publishing A/B tests only to find the winner within that A/B test alone. You're also A/B testing to identify what works in one area, so you can then apply that to other parts of the business. So let's say you found that by testing, obviously, that more of your brand's email lists convert from emails that actually talk about very specific pain points compared to what you're already doing or have tried. So then you want to tell that to your paid ads department, so they can now go in and test more of these more creative angles that talk about these very specific pain points compared to what they were trying before. And maybe that performs a lot better for the brand overall, instead of just kind of like running that A/B test within your emails and saying, oh, that performs better for this one email now, so now I'm just going to run that here and not learn anything from it, not kind of publish new A/B tests that kind of plays off of that kind of result. And yeah, because obviously, yeah, you just want to make sure you're actually learning from these A/B tests, so you can kind of publish new tests that obviously are inspired by what you've now found out kind of works better for your audience and your brand. So mistake number 3 you want to avoid is trying to run too many A/B tests at once. So you need a consistent A/B testing system that you can manage in order to actually keep proper track of your A/B tests, so you can pull actual useful insights from them. So if you're running 26 A/B tests at once and you're not consistently noting down exactly what's happening here, how these are going, and what the results were from the completed ones, then you're guaranteed to forget what you've already tested at some point, and you certainly won't be applying these takeaways to your next round of A/B tests. So obviously that is the whole point of kind of continuous optimization, that you're launching some A/B tests, you're doing something, you figure out if it works, if it doesn't, so you can kind of, so that impacts and has kind of a key impact on what you're now doing next for your next round of testing. So a key one to make sure you're avoiding. So hats off to you. You are now an 8-figure A/B testing genius. These are the A/B tests that will help you generate a lot more revenue with email marketing instead of wasting time, like I mentioned, on tests that don't really move the needle at all for your e-commerce brand. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Obviously this video was more so just showing you kind of what A/B test you could run. So I hope this was kind of helpful, even though it was kind of just moving through all of the different A/B tests we've run and that we still run for a lot of brands. But yeah, again, let me know in the comments if you have any questions for me regarding any of this, and I'll see you in the next video.